It's coming up to about 3 months now since I received my AYN Thor, and I must admit I haven't been able to play it as much as I would have liked to. December and January have both been really busy months for me, and I've not always been in the mood to just play a handheld, but when I have, I'm just pretty enamored with the Thor, and I feel like it's just going to be very hard for another device to top this for me anytime soon. I have the Odin 3 and I got the unit I paid for back in December, but to be brutally honest, I only ever think about using it for something really demanding like Game Hub with PC emulation. And as soon as I get into something, I'm immediately taking out the experience because the fan is either whiny or too loud. I even did a modification to replace the thermal pads inside with Thermal Grizzly Putty Pro to help with temperatures and maybe reduce the fan working as hard as it is. And on top of that, I added a small piece of tape to the grill of the fan at the top to try and filter the high-pitched whine of the fan. First of all, I have to tell you that if you do something like this, you will void the warranty of your device, so it's completely at your own risk to do so. And although I did see a small dip in temps and the fan whine was slightly muzzled by the tape, I wouldn't say it's a recommended upgrade and did not improve things as much as I'd hoped. The Odin 3 has just got to a place where with the newest turnip drivers we're seeing some impressive improvements to performance and fixing issues with certain games. But I'm still not interested enough yet at the moment to explore it in depth, so I think I will wait because I think for me the Odin 3 is something I'll enjoy more in about a month or two, and maybe then I'll think about doing some videos on it. If I didn't have the Odin 2 Portal and the Thor, I think I'd be a lot more excited about it, and it's looking like it's getting a lot better for Switch emulation too, so as a one and done handheld, it's definitely up there at this time. Speaking of mods, I have to also say that I did the same thermal putty mod to my Thor, and I did see a similar drop in temperatures with a slight performance increase of maybe 5ish frames at best with some of the Game Hub games I tested. I was actually kind of pleased about this with the Thor, as I know this would translate to Switch and Wii U emulation a little. So I have to say now that any performance I show with my Thor will be slightly different to a stock Thor because of this thermal putty modification, and I'll leave a link to a guide in the video description to how it's done, but I also use the most expensive brand of putty, which is the Pro kind, so I don't know if results vary with cheaper varieties. But again, do remember that this will void your warranty and is not recommended unless you absolutely know what you're doing and are curious about it. Also, another important change for me was improving the audio, and I'll leave a link in the description for that because it made the sound quality so much better than it is at stock. One of the good things about coming to the Thor now is people have been putting in a lot of effort to improve the user experience, and one of the nice changes from the OTA is using the keyboard on the bottom screen, which feels a lot more like a proper product. The front-end experience has also had a ton of updates. There's several front ends now that offer a dual screen experience such as ESDE with the Companion app, Console Launcher and Cocoon for example. I actually found it a bit overwhelming to think about, but I came across this YouTube channel called RetroPup that shows off a bunch of these front ends and has setup guides, so I'll leave a link in the description to their channel. Because I've used Pegasus for years now and have all the scraped art and metadata, I still use it, and I really like the switch theme called Skyline OS++. And the bottom screen I've just kept really simple using Nova Launcher, and I just have a few apps at the bottom I want to access to on the bottom screen. And to top that off, I've downloaded the app Molnir, and it's an app that you can set to be your home screen launcher. And it lets you set an app to launch on the top or bottom screen as well as using your home button to tap a certain amount of times to make a particular screen return home. I found this setup just keeps things really simple for me and allows me to use the app I want to on the screen that I want to. With Pegasus, I set a bunch of apps in the Android section with their art and launch commands, etc. And if I decide I want to open Chrome on the top screen with Pegasus and decide, oh actually I want this on the bottom screen now so I can open another app or game, I just tap Chrome on the bottom screen and then I can get back to Pegasus at the top. Or if I was adamant, for example, about having a guide up top for a retro game, I can open Chrome up top, but then open Pegasus on the bottom and play something retro that fits the screen better. It's just nice to have the option to do all this and feeling like a proper console-like experience. But I'm sure I want to experiment with newer front ends in the future. The Thor just seems to be igniting a lot of passion from the community, and I think so many people who grew up with DSs are at that kind of nostalgia age where seeing the Thor is hitting those childhood memories hard. Because even Nintendo seems a bit boring and safe with the Switch 2, and I know a lot of people miss when they did actual handhelds with the charm they used to have. So, what have I been doing on my Thor lately? I've been trying to remind myself to use it more for its dual screens. It was really interesting making the Game Hub videos though, and I think it's actually sick that this little clamshell has the power that it has. I even tested Metal Gear Solid 5 again with the thermal putty mod and thought it was really cool to see about a 5 FPS increase and slight thermal drop. But I probably won't do much Game Hub with Thor in the future. I finished playing all of Wind Waker on the Wii U, so I'm happy to confirm that the whole game plays perfectly on here at 720p. There has been an update to Cemu after I finished it, so performance might even be a tad better, maybe enough for a solid 1080p experience overall. In my playthrough, I only experienced one crash, which was the first boss on Dragoon Roost Island. It only happened once about midway through the fight and didn't happen again. Either way, I do recommend regularly saving in-game to avoid a potential crash. As a mini review for Wind Waker, this is the third time I've played it through, but I've only finished it twice, once on the GameCube and once on the Wii U. And I was really conflicted throughout the game because I was into it, and I wanted to play more, but I think it's one of the weakest Zeldas purely because I constantly felt like I was playing an unfinished game. I think it's an amazing concept, but it's missing dungeons and its world feels like a tech demo more than an actual world. As a Zelda game, most of the dungeon stuff felt like it was done better in previous Zeldas, but the bits it gets right are exciting enough to want to keep coming back. When I finished, I started to imagine what I'd like from a new Zelda, and I could totally imagine a world with the depth of Breath of the Wild, but the mechanics of Wind Waker, going around in your ship to different fully fleshed out islands and proper full-size dungeons. If anything, Wind Waker made me think I love the idea of Wind Waker, and I'd love to see it evolve. I really hope a new Zelda is a big new step though. I always felt like Tears of the Kingdom was too safe and didn't really deliver on its concept. And we are nearing 9 years since Breath of the Wild was released, so I want to feel fresh excitement for Zelda again. I do feel like I'm on a Zelda kick, so it just feels natural now to go to a 3DS Zelda. I swear one day I'll carry on my Majora's Mask playthrough and finish it, but I'm more excited to play A Link Between Worlds again because it's actually been about 12 years now since I played it and I love that world. This is with 1080p HD textures and set to 3x resolution, just to keep it more stable. Whenever I start it, I do have a couple of cache things going on, but after about a minute the game feels really good and is smooth to play. I'll endeavour to play more DS titles, and I have dabbled in some. I should have more time now to start finishing some more of these games. Besides dual screen, I'm always chuffed to think of how good the Thor is as a clamshell Nintendo Switch. Eden got a pretty significant update recently, and I'm also trying the newest Mr. Purple T25 driver. And to be clear, at the time of this video, I am using the latest nightly release of Eden. Something I usually end up testing is seeing how well Batman Arkham City will perform at 200% speed to be able to reach 60 FPS when it can. I have the docked setting on, but I've set the resolution to 0.75 just for added smoothness, and FSR sharpening to 50%. I was finding that not only was it reaching 60 FPS at times, but it was fairly stable even in pretty big fights. I think around 50 FPS is acceptable for that, and I don't feel like I'm missing inputs in a way I might at 30 FPS. The one downside currently is using Batswarm seems to cause some slowdown. I feel like this wasn't a problem with a different driver, so you can try an older one. One of the reasons I like testing this game for the Switch is that I've constantly ran into problems with the game with Game Hub and Winlater, so to see its console port working very solidly is awesome to me. Apart from that, I'd say stability has improved across some of the games. I'm not going to do a showcase since a lot of the games I have already worked very well, but it's nice to see Eden doing even better. Tears of the Kingdom still seems to get this blocky graphical error that I've seen ever since I tested the game even on Yuzu, but it did feel like the only thing dragging it down was literally shader caching, which wasn't too bad overall. I've been trying to think of some more unique things to play lately, and I like weird games and hidden gems. This wasn't on my Thor, but recently I played with a friend Gekido Urban Fighters on the PS1, and we were surprised what a decent 3D brawler this was, with some really unique combos in it. For a PS1 title, it felt like I was playing something that was more of a modern brawler, and we had a really good time. I'm not sure why, but I started to give Wario Land 4 a go. I've never properly played a Wario Land game before, and I was really impressed by the quality and creativeness as I was getting through levels. So this is probably something I'm going to finish soon. Another game I discovered recently was a fan translation of the Sega Saturn game Bog Slash, which has support for twin stick controllers. And I'm absolutely in love with games with this art style and music. The simple polygons with colourful pixel textures and the arcade gameplay made this a really fun game to get into. I've also been having a little look for games that have a good translation patch or modification to make them more interesting. The Nintendo DS is a system that has a good amount of games with fan translations, and one I was checking out is called Contact. It's a very strange RPG, and its combat oddly reminds me of Xenoblade, where you go into attack mode and then you just start attacking automatically. But it's a very weird and fun, quirky game. I also finally properly gave Zelda Dungeons of Infinity a proper go recently with its newest version, and I got very invested into the run. I know I mentioned it before in videos, but I just never got around to doing a proper run of the game, and I got so close to the end. And it's something that you can get running in Winlater or GameHub. I'm a big fan of all these little fun PC fan games and such that you can get running on a handheld. So yeah, I've had my Thor for 3 months now. I know there are a lot of people who have done a ton more gaming than I've been able to, but it's a really wonderful device, and AYN can just give themselves another pat on the back. I'm not sure if I'll do a video of this, but since I can't get the Odin 3 to work with the AYN dock, I decided to make my Odin 2 Portal pretty much a living room retro handheld connected with Bluetooth controllers. It's not a new concept, but I've never mained an Android handheld for a TV before, and I gotta say I'm absolutely loving it for gaming with friends and just trying out something on a big screen. It started to become a bit of a showpiece, and there's a social aspect to that I've kind of missed with video games that I've started to really enjoy again. So let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. I'd love to hear what you guys have been up to on your Thors, whether it's customizing with front ends and themes or just really enjoying a particular game. I'd also love to know if anyone has the Lite edition yet, because I think for the price it's still a hefty little handheld that should do quite a bit. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.